What's good, everybody? My name is Landmark and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Captain Chords Epic. Captain Chords Epic is just an update to their previous version. If you don't know what this is, it's a chord generator, 5 plugins that all work seamlessly together to help you generate chords, progressions, melodies, drums, bass lines, all in one fell swoop that you can use in your production process. Now, there's some major differences between the previous version and this version. We're going to walk through those changes today, and I'll show you guys how I use it within Maschine. I'm primarily a Maschine user, and I've seen a bunch of videos out there of how people use it within Logic, Ableton, but I haven't really seen much about Maschine. And I'll show you exactly how I use it in my process within Maschine and how I come up with chord progressions and things like that. So without further ado, y'all know what it is. Let's get into it. All right, so here we have an instance of Maschine loaded up. First thing I'm going to do in this first group, this first sound, I'm going to insert an instance of Captain Chords Epic. When the program loads, this is the initial screen that it shows. It gives you the option to pick a key and a scale from here. You don't have to start here. You can just load to the plugin straight away. But you can start here by selecting a key and a scale if you want. I'm just going to go something simple like C major and hit go. And it'll load C major into the plugin. So I'm going to go over some of these menus over here on the left side. Here, key and scale, same menu as we saw in the beginning. Gives you the option of whatever key or scale you want to start in. Here, if you want to start off just by hearing some different chords, that gives you some options by this little drop-down menu over here. So when you click this, it gives you some options within the program. Here is a bank of different genres that you can start with. We can just start with top 20. And this drop-down menu gives another options for whatever you want to start with. So something simple, the big 4 chords, just a four chord progression, 4 bars, 4 chords, and gives you just some basic progression in the C major scale. Let's hear what it sounds like. So say I don't like that, I want to switch it up, hit this little cycle button, and it gives a different chord progression in the C major scale. So you can continue to do this until you find something that you like. You can change the key, change the scale, just to get something really easy right off the top. So that's basically like the easiest way to start like a 4-bar, 4-chord progression. Just click this, pick a genre, click this, pick some chords, and it'll load things in. And you have just a bunch of variations of chords that you can just mess around with here. You can drag these up and down and hone it into whatever you like, or you can change the key. Say, let's go F major, F minor, and it will load those chord progressions into that scale. Now from there, you can close out of this menu right here, and it reveals the chords within the C major scale. Here are all the major chords here, and underneath each one of those are inversions of those chords. So for instance, in this first bar, it's G major, and I can select a variation of that just by clicking it. So say I like that, I can put that in there and then continue to play it. And you can do that on down the line for each bar. You select this major chord or an inversion of that major chord. You can also change the octave. You can also change the complexity of this chord. So the up arrow makes it more and more complex, down arrow makes it less complex. It's getting crazy. Go up here, hit undo to undo whatever you did. So a lot of different options that you can do with just this basic 4-chord, 4-bar loop that we just created right here. Now another thing that you can do over here on the left side. Now say I like this chord progression. But I want to change it up just a little bit. You can change the rhythm of the chords that you have laid out already. So you click this, gives you a drop-down menu of different styles of music. So lo-fi stands out to me, so I can click that. And then I have different complexities, like how complex do I want this rhythm to be. And it'll give you a drop-down menu over here. You can simplify it, make it complex, or whatever, and it gives you all these different options. So whenever you click on one of them, it changes. It keeps the chord progression the same, but it adds some rhythm to each one of those. So let's hear what it sounds like. So kept that same chord progression, but just a lot more complex than the initial chord progressions that we put in there, which definitely adds a little bit of flavor to whatever you're trying to create. And what they also did was they added a human element to each one of these rhythms to make it sound like someone's actually playing. So some of the chords are a little offset to mirror someone that's actually playing and not on time, and everything's not perfectly lined up. That's the human element of it. And so that's a nice little addition that they put into this version of Captain Chords. I don't know, we're gonna stick with that, but there's all kinds of different variations. You can hit random right here. It'll just randomly select whatever you have loaded up as far as complexity. Whatever you have listed in this menu, the dice roll randomizer will just randomly pick whatever is in this drop-down menu. So this can get really complex, or you can keep it as simple as you want, but it gives you a lot of different options to build a track however you want. So we're going to leave this chord progression as it is right now. Keep going on down the left side menu. Over here you'll see some tabs. Right here it says audio, and underneath that they have different sound presets. So you can click on this, and again it'll bring up a menu with a bunch of different genres of music, instruments, and sounds as well. So say I want to choose a piano, different piano. I like that chord progression, so let's stick with that. And you have a bunch of different options over here. So you'll see there's this icon next to some of these, and this icon denotes that these are presets from Faceplant. And Faceplant is a synth plugin made by Ironhearts, and they collaborated with Captain Chords to use some of their presets within their program. And when you select one of these, they have their own adjustment knobs that you can further dial in their sound within Captain Chords. So let's use this, and I'll bring up that menu. That menu is listed here under Sound Design. You click that, and then you have all these knobs that you can turn to dial in the sound that you like. So let's mess with it as it's playing. So that's a nice little addition, having Faceplant presets in here. Again, just beefing up the choices of sounds that you can choose from when you're building chords within the program. I have a volume slider here, and then also you can click this button and it'll mute the music that's coming from the plugin. I'll show you how I use this particular feature later on. So next on the menu over here is plugins. So what you can also do is you can select your own VST instrument to play the chords that you've laid out here. So I can click this, and it has every vendor that you have loaded into Maschine or any vendor's plugins that you have installed on your computer. Let's click Contact since that's the most familiar. It'll pull up an instance of Contact, and then you can go in here and load whatever plugin that you want to use, or whatever sound from these particular plugins that you may want to use for this. So that's a nice addition to the program, that you can just load your own VST instruments in there. One thing I did notice is that when you click out of here, say I want to go back to that first sound that I was using, once you click that, try to go back into plugins, it won't play again. So that's a little issue that I found within the program itself. So you kind of have to commit to here. But I'll show you how I get around this once I figure out what chord progression I actually like and I go through some of these menus. So I'm going to stick to this, Mellow Roads. I'm actually going to go down an octave. So I can select all those, hit down an octave. So that's nice. I like that. So say, you know what, I decided I like this and I want to, maybe manipulate the sound even further. Got a couple of different options that you can do over here, and I'll show you how to use this. You can just export the MIDI straight away right into Maschine. I'll just load it into the Sound 2 slot, and then there it is. You have the MIDI information loaded with all of the velocity and everything that you use within here. So down here at the bottom, I forgot to mention this, you have a velocity tab, and you can adjust these here to give you a little bit more realism, or say you just want them all to hit the same. You can adjust each note's velocity here. You can adjust the rhythm. We chose that earlier up here. You can change that down here as well, and down here it shows what each of these chords that you've chosen, just here is just a different variation rhythm of that chord. So to continue on, what you can also do is click this right here, click this clip to render to audio. Once I do that, I can just click and drag into another slot. So I'm going to use this right here on sound number 3. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off because I don't want it to play. I'm going to show you what I did here. So now you've loaded an audio sample, the actual audio file, into Maschine, and this is what it looks like. So you can manipulate the sound just like you would with any other sound that you load within Maschine. You can also go over here and hit the audio and use the audio function of it. And then there it is, there's the audio function. So a lot of different options to export those sounds within Maschine itself. I like to do this so that I can, maybe gate some of these sounds, turn them on and off. Within Maschine, you have these options, or you can make one long file, whatever. So you can manipulate the actual wave sample right here if you'd like, or what I like to do is also pull the MIDI information out and load up Contact this way, and then cycle these sounds as I go along in creating my track. So let's pick something. Let's pick a piano. So I've got Noir loaded up. I'm going to mute this. It'll play that information that I exported from Captain Chords into this new slot. So that's just another option that you can use when exporting stuff outside of Captain Chords. So I'm going to pull back up Captain Chords Epic. And, so this chord progression is a little complex. Maybe I wanted something a little bit more simple. But when I pulled everything out, I already have contact listed up here with all the Midi information from this previous instance of Captain Chords, and say I want to make some changes. But I like this, but I want to make some changes. So that's why I exported that Midi out into another channel, and then I can continue to add different variations or change stuff. Now you want to stay within the same key and scale, so you're not clashing with whatever you just created. But say I want to change the variation or the complexity, or say I want to change the rhythm or go back to something really simple. Let's go simple, lo-fi. That's not simple enough for me. So let's go back into rhythm. I go back. Oh. Let's go. I don't want rhythm. I'm gonna get rid of the rhythm. So I can go back into rhythm. I'm going to go back to that original chord progression, and I just click on chord change. And this was the original chord progression. So now I have that. And say I just want to keep this, to go along with what I just created over here. And let's see what it sounds like together. So now I have the same chord progression, but what I exported has a different rhythm, but it's still playing within the same progression. So let's switch up the sound so I can kind of distinguish between the two. Let's just go regular piano. It's too low. Bring it up an octave. So now I have, this same chord progression, just played differently, and I have one that I've exported. I have that little variation in there. So I will do this a couple of times just to give me some options when I'm building a track. And I like to do that. Now, some people don't use it that way. They just have this chord progression, and then they build on top of it, put a melody. But this is an option that I use so that I can maintain this chord progression. I've also exported the Midi information right into to contact into a different slot. So just giving me some options, and that's how I use it within Maschine. So now I have this chord progression. I have a little variation to it, and say I want to add a bass line. So the cool thing about Captain Chords Epic now is I can load up Captain Chords or Captain Deep Epic, and the way that these plugins are built together is that they're meant to work seamlessly together. So when you pull up Captain Deep, this is the bassline generator. This right here is a chord progression that's in Captain Chords. So it's going to give you variations of bass lines based on what you have loaded in Captain Chords. Now if I go in here and I change something, say C major, no. Say I do something weird like that. I go to Captain Deep, and there's the change. So these two plugins working in tandem together will help you. It will help keep your composition cohesive. So they both work together in tandem. So when I play it, it's actually sounds really good. You have some of the same options here as in Captain Chords. You can choose different sound presets. You have phase plant plugins of phase plant presets in a lot of these sounds as well. Lots of different options. Again, genres, different instruments that are all bass related and that you can apply to your composition. But we're going to stick with punch bass because it actually sounds really good. So I like this, you know. There are also variations that you can do within the bass notes. So you have the root, so you can start the bass note out on the root, which is the G right here, or it can have a little variation. So you can make changes to the bass note that way. You can also add rhythm. By doing this, click the rhythm drop-down menu. Again, gives you banks here, what types of rhythms you want to change, mid-tempo pop, and get a little crazy. Lots of different variations that you can do with the bass notes. Same functions as Captain Chords, lots of variation, lots of choices, and same functions too. So you can add in a VST instrument of your choice here. VST output, there's a little tutorial. We're not going to get into that right now, but this is just a basic function of Captain Deep. I really like the first thing that was in there, so I'm going to go back to that. Now I like that bass sound. I don't foresee myself changing it, so I'm just going to render the audio and put it into an empty slot here. There's the audio sample of the bass. I'm going to use the audio function within Maschine, and there it is. So both of these are, I'm playing both of the progressions that I made in Captain Chords here. So you don't have to, render the audio and drag it over there. This is just like something that I do to commit to that sound. And if I want to make some changes later on, I already have it pulled out to whatever I used before. You can use the undo function and go back and to what you first created, but that allows you to continue to mess around with the chord progression, but you've already committed some other stuff. So that's how I use it within Maschine. And the last thing that I normally use when I'm using Captain Chords is the melody function. So again, load up another slot. Captain Melody Epic. Captain Melody does the same thing as Captain Deep as far as syncing with Captain Chords. So it's important that you have this loaded up because then Captain Melody will then read the information that's in Captain Chords and make a melody based on the chord progression that you have there. So Captain Melody is even simpler. All you have to do is click the plus button. It'll give you some sort of melody to go along with the chord progression that you have. Now, Captain Melody, as simple as that was, to get this melody laid out can get really, really complex. I'll try to explain it as much as I can because it can get really interesting. So you have A and B functions within this top menu, right? And what that means is what I can do is say I want to create some variation. So let's do simple triplet. And this is what that sounds like. Now, say I like, I want to make some changes to that. I can go to layout, and it has this A and B layout function here. So A plays one portion, B plays a second portion. So you see how the triplet here is in the B portion, and it switches back and forth. So A is one simple note, see that here. B is a more complex progression. So it basically just goes back and forth as it makes its way down the timeline, giving different variations of notes. So you can shape each one of the A and B functions. And you have some menus that allow you to do that. You can do that for the shape. You can do that for the rhythm. Say I want to play 2 notes. So it changed, see how it changed the A's, all the A sides down here to match. I want to play 2 notes. Maybe I want to play 3 notes. Breaks it up into 3 notes. 4 notes. Let's go 3. And you can continue to do that for the A and B functions. So say I don't like this triplet. Say I just want, maybe turn the triplet off. I want to play 2 notes, 3 notes. And it's just going back and forth, playing different variations of the melody within A and B. And then you can also make the first note of A be the root, second, third, all kinds of different variations. And when you make a change here, it makes a change down at the on the timeline. So it can get pretty complex, pretty wild here. And then you go back to layout, right? And then you can switch between the type of layout. So AA, BA. So it'll play AA, BA, AA, BA. So lots of different types of layouts that you can choose for the melody itself. It can get really, really complex. Or you can just choose a preset, simple triplet, short and sweet. Maybe I just like that. Or maybe I just want to make changes to individual notes. But you get what I'm saying. There's so many different variations and options that you have within here. This is just designed to give you some ideas to start with, and you cycle through these until you find something that you like. All right, I think I found a sound and a melody progression that I like. So a lot of different variations there. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Best way to get good at it is to just spend some time with it, because you can get really lost just creating different patterns and variations within the plugin itself. So that's why I like to just hey, I like this. I'm gonna commit to it. So that's what we're gonna do. Click, drag this over here. I committed to it. That's it. So I'm gonna go put in the audio function here, and then I'm gonna go and just mute all of these. Since I already used those, I committed to those. I just want to save them just in case. But this is what it sounds like with Captain Deep, Captain Melody together. Captain Epic, Captain Chords is still playing. I didn't bounce this, so I like this. Let's put this over here. And use the audio function. So now I can mute this. So now I have 3 audio files, wave files, within Maschine that I can manipulate, and that first one as well. So it may seem a little cluttered here. I usually have a better system of exporting MIDI files and things like that, but that's specifically how I use it, Captain Chords Epic, within Maschine. I'm going to change the tempo of this to 190. So one thing I noticed when I was building this track out is that I like to separate some of my sounds, and I decided that I wanted to add some horns. And so I went back to group 1 over here to Captain Chords Epic, turned this on, I exported my MIDI to just a open track right here. So there's MIDI information here but no sounds. I copied this and pasted it into this instrument, which is, what did I choose? Oh, Symphony Essentials Brass. And so that's what it's useful for. Like as I'm building it out, building my song, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that sound, but I wonder what it would sound like. So now I have some horns here, and I pulled the MIDI from Captain Chords and inserted it into a different pattern with different sounds, and so I can continue to build my track. So here's what the instrument sounds like. So that, my friends, is a demonstration of Captain Chords Epic and how I use it within Maschine. It's a little different maybe than some other users, but that's just me specifically and how I implement it into my workflow. So I really love to build stuff this way. If I don't want to pull samples or want to build something from scratch and I can't necessarily play that well, so or I'm having trouble coming up with ideas, this is a way for me to get ideas and build on top of that. And then maybe I'll get some inspiration, I'll put my own melodies in, and so this program is very useful for that kind of starting the process, and that's what I use it for. So if you like what you see here, Captain Chords Epic, it's actually fairly priced. It's $100, $99. You can get it from their website. I'll put a link for that in the description down below so that you can pick up a copy. But all of these plugins work in tandem together, and it makes it super useful to build chords, melodies, and bass lines. And that's the biggest change from the previous version of Captain Chords is that all of them work together in tandem so that you can create a more full song within Captain Chords and then export it to whatever DAW that you use. And so that's how I use it within Maschine. If you have any questions, you can type them down in the comments below. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Again, if you're interested, links are down in the description below. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.